having GCINS within the unaffected contralateral testis. However, in a patient with germ cell tumor, if he's having any of these risk factors, what are those risk factors? If the contralateral testis is atrophic, if the contralateral testis was cryptorchid, or if the patient is younger age, that is less than 40 years, then the risk increases from 9% to 36%. MCQ again, patient with germ cell tumor in the left testis, the risk of germ cell tumor in the right testis is 9%. But a patient with GCT in the left testis having undescended testis on the right side, the risk of GCINS in the right testis goes up to 36%. MCQ again. GCINS can be oh, my slides aren't changing. I'll stop my share and come back to you again. Slides are not changing. Okay. Okay. Germ cell neoplasia in situ, it can be diagnosed in any of these three scenarios. Can be diagnosed in a testicular biopsy performed in a healthy young male who has come to you for an evaluation of infertility. You just do a testicular biopsy, and to your surprise, that patient could be having a germ cell neoplasia in situ. And in a patient who has got a one-side testicular germ cell tumor, you do a biopsy of an opposite side, and you can find a GCINS. And within the unaffected testis in a patient who is undergoing, in the same testis, in the opposite testis in a patient who is undergoing testicular sparing surgery, right? So patient has come for infertility evaluation, and biopsy found to have an GCINS, or he has got a right side testicular tumor, and left side, if you do a biopsy, you can have GCINS. Or if he has got a right side GCT and you have done an orchidectomy, then the opposite side can be having GCINS. Highest risk of developing invasive germ cell tumor is when the patient is having germ cell neoplasia in situ. So when you consider the treatment of a patient with neoplasia in situ, three things have to be put in your mind. Is the patient desiring of future paternity? Then your treatment has to be decided accordingly. Is there any presence or absence of normal contralateral testis? And is there a desire to avoid testosterone replacement therapy? Some patients say that I don't want to take these nonsense injections of testosterone replacement to preserve my erection. I want my own testis-produced testosterone. I don't want something that is given from outside. So consider these three things before you decide what therapy to do for a patient with GCINS. What are the treatment options? 4 treatment options. 3 considerations, 4 treatment options. One is radical orchidectomy. Patient is telling, I've got pre-invasive. You just remove the testis. I am happy in my life. I don't bother if the testis is there or not. He's 40-year-old who has decided to live without sex for his life. So he can undergo radical orchidectomy, most definitive method and maximum cure rate. But the patient will not be having a testis, and so he can be impotent. And the other option is low dose radiation. What is low dose? 20 grays. 20 grays given in 10 fractions of 2 grays each. It has the same outcomes as orchidectomy, with the advantage is that it avoids damage, it preserves the testosterone production. So in patient who is telling that he doesn't want to have testosterone from outside, so that patient, it is better you give a low dose radiation of 20 grays. 20 grays is the MCQ here, remember. So 20 grays is the low dose radiation given for a GCINS. When you compare it to a CA testis per se, to the retroperitoneum you give 30 to 35 grays. So you are reducing almost by 15 grays. That is important. Remember, the dose is varying by almost 15 grays, 10 to 15 grays. Low dose is 20 grays. So those who want to preserve the testis and testosterone, low dose RT. If he says, I don't want to undergo radiation, I don't want to undergo surgery, best is to put the patient on a close observation. You keep assessing his semen parameters till he achieves fertility, or till he becomes successful by artificial reproduction technique, close surveillance, and once he has become a father, then you can remove his testis. Or another technique is that the best technique is you just take the testis, you harvest the best sperms of this patient, you cryopreserve them, you do the artificial reproductive technique, and then you remove the testis. So he will be a father as well as he will be free from the tumor. Okay, so as on date, orchidectomy is the best other choice. If the patient is, question will be to you like this, a young male who desires to retain the testis and also who doesn't want to have exogenous testosterone replacement, answer should be low dose radiation. What is the pathogenesis? As I told you, it develops from an arrested gonocyte. This is important. Develops from an arrested gonocyte. It is less frequent in pediatric germ cell tumors. After doing with GCINS, next topic of interest is microlithiasis. Very fancy question for MCQ. What you need to remember is that microlithiasis as such in general population, in this 270 participants over here online, maybe some 200 gents are here. In any one of us, if you are having a testicular microlithiasis, don't worry, it's not going to cause you any harm. In general population, it's uncertain. However, in a man with, if any of us are having GCT previously, presence of testicular microlithiasis on ultrasound, it places you at an increased risk. So 2 questions. In general population, unclear. In a patient with GCT, it's an increased risk of GCINS, microlithiasis. Okay. So microlithiasis, its significance, it depends upon the patient's history. And what is germ cell tumor paradox? Germ cell tumor is one of the most common neoplasm in the body. It can undergo spontaneous regression even if you don't treat. It can undergo regression. That is called as burnt out phenomena. Burnt out phenomena. It is because the tumor growth can overwhelm the vascular supply to the tumor. So when the food you give to the tumor is more than the requirement, then it can get burnt out and it can get spontaneous regression. The spontaneous regression time is an MCQ again. On an average, it is 12 to 18 months. 12 to 18 months. It happens in about 50% of patients. So the remaining 50%, they can progress and develop a malignancy and metastasis. So that is the reason, even though 50% they can regress, 50% are prone to develop metastasis and metastasis and die out of that. So that is the reason why you treat a GCT. GCTs are divided into 2 types. Gonadal GCTs, which constitute about 95%, the large bulk, and the minor variation of 5% of extragonadal GCTs. Extragonadal GCT, classic question you'll be getting in a young male with a midline abdominal mass. What is your differential diagnosis? The first thing that should come in a young male with midline abdominal mass should be GCT rather than a lymphoma. That's what I want to impress upon you. Is that right, Pawan? Yeah. 2 hypotheses have been proposed. You can read it by yourself. And this one also, just to for the sake of material, how do you classify pathologically? GCTs are divided into germ cell, neoplasia, GCINS derived and non-GCINS derived. MCQ again for you. Which of the following is a non-GCINS derived? These 3. These 4 are non-GCINS derived. Spermatocytic tumor is an important of that. It doesn't arise from an GCINS. Teratoma, it can be either from GCINS or it can be from non-GCINS also. It can be, it can arise from anywhere. And within the germ cell tumors, 55% are seminomas and 45% are non-seminomatous. I told you previously, 95% are gonadal, 5% are extragonadal. And in germ cell tumors, 55 are seminoma, 45 are non-seminoma. Again, this is again 3 pages in Campbell summarized into 1 page and 1 table. Wonderful table. You take a printout of this table and stick it on your bedroom or bathroom or whatever you wish to. Very potential that you get an MCQs from this one. Okay. let us see with seminoma. Most common, it is seen in the 4th or 5th decade.